Will Alabama football flip some 2026 recruits in the future? They definitely will be putting in the work during the fall as we move into this particular part of the recruiting cycle. As always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama. Be sure to hit that like button for me. Hit that subscribe button as well. Subscribers to the notification bell be notified when we drop content on our YouTube channel. Welcome into the process where we break down the latest in Alabama football recruiting news. As you guys know, recruiting is a year-round thing. Take a look back at the summer. That is typically when you are a 2026 prospect, you get an opportunity to officially visit a couple of different programs. You also get an opportunity to commit before your senior season, which is what a lot of prospects do in this new age of recruiting, because a lot of guys want to be enrolled by January. They like to be committed, verbally committed to a school of their choice before they take their first senior snaps of their last season of high school football. So a lot of prospects who the Crimson Tide would like to add to their 2026 recruiting class are committed elsewhere, but the Tide also have commitments from some talented prospects, including five-star recruits Xavier Crowell, Sadarian Morgan, and Xavier Griffin, among others. Of course, Alabama will have to fight off some programs to make sure they keep their class intact, but they also will be on the attack in terms of them possibly pushing for some guys who they would like to flip here in the 2026 recruiting cycle. And those are the prospects who I want to talk about on today's show. These are not the only prospects who the Tide are pushing for or will possibly push for during the fall, but these are four guys that I just want to bring to you guys' attention just based on the relationship that Alabama's coaching staff have with them. They have built with them, and also the fact that the Crimson Tide really like these guys' skill set, and some of it is based on location, because these guys could possibly get to Tuscaloosa, if not one time, at least a couple of times, just based on the fact that two of these are in-state recruits. The first guy I'm going to talk about is a guy who probably disappointed Alabama fans when he committed to the Oregon Ducks, and I'm talking about five-star linebacker Anthony Jones out of St. Paul's Episcopal in Mobile, Alabama. One of the top linebacker edge prospects in the country. A guy, when the Crimson Tide were recruiting him before he committed to Oregon, seemed to be a perfect fit for either the Wolf linebacker position, playing under Christian Robinson, possibly playing at that bandit role for the Crimson Tide, along his defensive front, more so as a defensive end, and came Women's 4-2-5 form defense. But when you take a look at Anthony Jones, there are multiple reasons why I think the Crimson Tide will continue to push for him. His position versatility, I think this is one of the more versatile prospects the state has produced here in a minute, in terms of him being a defender that is most likely going to play with his hand in the ground at the next level. But looking back at his recruitment, one thing that I noticed whenever I talk to Anthony, or whenever anybody from Touchdown Alabama talked to Anthony about the Crimson Tide, I always got the vibe of Alabama's coaching staff just continuing to build their relationship with them. I never felt like Alabama has built this super great, over the top type of relationship with Anthony Jones. And if they possibly could build that, we could be talking about his recruitment in a different manner. In the last quote that we got from Jones before he committed to Oregon, kind of painted that picture pretty clearly. This is what he had to say about his relationship with Alabama, saying, "It's great. I know when they first came, it wasn't really that good, but now I have built relationships with the coaches, and they got way better, especially with Coach She-Rob, Christian Robinson." So that is kind of like some of the conversation that I have had with Jones ever since the Kalen DeBoer coaching staff took over in Tuscaloosa. It was always, our relationship is building, it's getting better. I never felt like it got to the point where it needed to get to for them to pick up commitment from him at this particular point. If they can continue to build on that relationship, get him on campus possibly a couple of times before signing day, maybe things can change. So that is why I would keep my eyes on Anthony Jones, because I think Alabama just has a great chance to just continue to build on that relationship and possibly push that home state thing, because at the end of the day, Anthony Jones is from Mobile. Playing football in Oregon is a huge leap. So if the Crimson Tide's coaching staff, just based on how recruiting works, it wouldn't be surprised for them to push that whole, hey, stay home and be a legend at Alabama, as he possibly could be. And like so many guys who come from St. Paul's Episcopal have gone on to be. Heck, you can see in the background, a lot of those Alabama pictures are on their practice field. A lot of guys from their program have had great careers at Alabama, including AJ McCarron and Mark Barron. But the next guy we want to talk about is another in-state recruit, Corey Barber, 4-star explosive wide receiver, and create separation for 340 speed. We saw him work out at the Under Armour All-America next camp. We got an opportunity to see him. We got an Alabama off for a couple of days after the performance that you guys are seeing right now. This guy's verbally committed to Ole Miss at the moment, but the moment that he committed to the Rebels, his dad told Touch Alabama that Alabama's coaching staff told him that they were not going to stop recruiting him, telling him that, yo, we still are going to recruit you, stay in contact with you. So, of course, Ole Miss explosive offense playing under Lane Kiffin. It's easy to see if you are a wide receiver why you would love to take advantage of that opportunity, but I think Alabama's offense has an opportunity to really show that it can be really explosive and really know how to use a variety of wide receivers in its upcoming season. Just take a look at Alabama's roster. You have Ryan Wiggins, Jeremy Bernard, Isaiah Horton, but you also have a group of wide receivers who is not featured in that top 3 wide receivers who are expected to be the main contributors, who most likely will get snaps as well. When you take a look at Rico Scott, Jalen Hale, and also possibly a guy like Lazio Brooks, and those guys could possibly be in that rotation as well. Guys who are getting meaningful snaps are not part of that top 3 wide receivers are expected to lead the Crimson Tide. So I think Alabama's coaching staff has a great opportunity to show a lot of these guys. I think I'll put Anthony Jones in that conversation as well, because recruiting is done on the field as well. So I think when it comes to flipping a recruit, I think how your season goes works to your advantage, and also it can work to your advantage if the school that the guy is committed to doesn't produce like it needs to produce, or if coaching changes start to happen. So those are all of the factors that you have to consider when you're taking a look at a guy who's committed elsewhere and you're possibly trying to flip him. Corey Barber is a guy to pay attention to, plays for Clay Chalkville High School. That plays for Clay Chalkville High School, which gives Alabama an opportunity with, based on location, he's going to be able to get to Tuscaloosa pretty quickly if he wants to go see some of the Crimson Tide's top games. And if they can get him on campus, they just continue to grow their relationship with him. I think a strength for Alabama in terms of continuing to recruit Barber. He has a great relationship with Ryan Williams, former teammates with Jalen Mbakwe. So he seems to have a relationship with multiple members of Alabama's roster and Alabama's wide receiver room. So Corey Barber is a guy I'll pay attention to. Jaedyn Terry as well, a defensive back who had a very interesting official visit to the Crimson Tide, because technically he did not have a verbal offer before he officially visited, which is something we don't see all the time. But basically they wanted to offer him during that official visit. He was already verbally committed to Georgia Tech when he got on campus for the official visit. But he's a 6'3" defensive back, has a elite college coaches are looking for in high pursuit of in terms of the cornerback position. Does a good job of breaking on football and coverage with the ability to use that length, which is why so many coaching staffs across college football are going after these 6'3" defensive backs, because they can use their length to their advantage. But he got to campus, got that offer during that official visit. Going back to, like I said, he was already committed to Georgia Tech when he got on campus for that official visit and when he got that offer. But this is what he had to say after he got the offer and after the visit. It is a very good program. Terry told Touch Alabama, of course, growing up, it was always my dream school. And now to get a chance to play there, it's like a dream come true. The coaches are real and care about developing players as athletes and as people. So if Alabama can get Jaedyn Terry on campus, I think he's a guy to pay attention to as the season progresses in the fall. The last guy I want to talk about is Nick Abrams, 4-star linebacker, who I just feel Alabama's coaching staff, led by their linebacker coach Chuck Morrell, did a great job of pushing for Abrams. Of course, he's verbally committed to Georgia at the moment, which may be a difficult flip if Georgia is as productive as it typically is on the defensive side of football at that linebacker position when it comes to developing linebackers. So Abrams, I kind of put him in here, not more so because of the school that he's committed to, because I feel like that becomes the biggest obstacle for the Crimson Tide, but it's basically based on the relationship that Alabama has built with Abrams, just the effort that they showed, basically getting out to see him so many times, trying to got him to Tuscaloosa for that official visit. So Alabama really likes Nick Abrams and his versatility and kind of like what he brings to the table, ability to play sideline to sideline. Kane Womack recently said Alabama wants lengthy guys who can make plays, make tackles in space. Nick Abrams checks all of those boxes. This is what he had to say about Alabama's scheme after he officially visited them before committing to Georgia. I think the foundation Alabama has is the best I've seen. Their scheme is also built for linebackers. The production they produce is crazy and something that jumps off the screen. So I put Nick Abrams here as well, probably a little bit more difficult than the guys I previously mentioned, but I think he's worth noting. Again, like I said, to kick off this show, these are not the only guys Crimson Tide are pushing for. There are multiple guys committed elsewhere who Alabama continues to push for. But these are 4 notable guys that I want you guys to know about on this episode of The Process. Recruiting changes is fluent. It may be a guy who no one is talking about right now who could be in this conversation a little bit later. He may look up and see that a school season is not going like it's supposed to go, or as they expected to go, or maybe their coach is leaving, or maybe the assistant coach that has recruited that potential recruit is going to leave. So there's a lot of different factors that you have to consider when it comes to flip targets. But this is kind of like just an early preview of some guys to know. But there are going to be other names that pop out in general in terms of recruiting continuing to be fluent. But as always, I am Justin Smith, the Director of Recruiting and Managing Editor here at Touchdown Alabama. Thank you guys so much for joining me today on The Process.